Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a womenace to society.
And so shall you be. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to A Menace to Society. I'm so stoked to speak today's guest. She's a holistic healer. She's a cabaret artist. Welcome to the podcast, Rebecca Kidwell.
Thank you.
You're a holistic healer. How'd you get into that?
Well, I have always been interested in helping other people out. And in 2009, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder after struggling with depression and anxiety most of my life. I began to learn mindfulness practices and different forms of self-care. And last year, my musical director did a Reiki session on me, and I felt something like activate in me, and from that moment I knew I wanted to learn more, and she introduced me to her teacher.
What is Reiki for listeners who are unaware of what that is?
Well, this is actually a multiple point thing. The word Reiki means universal life force energy.
Okay.
The theory of the system of Reiki is the specific training of how to help the client harness their own energy to move blockages, which are sometimes just in our minds, and balance the energy within the body. Reiki session consists of holding space, sometimes with guided relaxation or awareness, with the client to work those blockages out and to harmonize their own energy.
Those blockages you speak of, where do they come from, do you think?
It's pretty much something's out of balance. Some situation came up in their life or something happened, whether it's trauma or I mean, it could even be day-to-day. Someone smiled at them wrong. And, you know, you have those people on the street that just get grumpy, just get into your space and knock you out of balance. And that's where those blockages come from. Again, it can be something more deeply rooted, a trauma or a physical ailment or something, but any of those things could bring up blockages.
I imagine we all have triggers.
Yes.
Yes, and
definitely.
you're in New York City, so you're interacting, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, with thousands of people every day.
Yes, and that is why this is very helpful for me as well, to learn how to heal myself.
What are some of the benefits that your clients are getting, experiencing working with Reiki healing?
I've found for me that some of my clients have had the release of self-limiting beliefs and deeply held thoughts that hold them back emotionally, physically, and spiritually. For some, it's provided clarity and calmness. For others, relaxation and better sleep. I also had a specific client who had digestive problems, and I had another client who she was recovering from surgery, and she had extreme pain and was taking like major painkillers, and after the Reiki session, she didn't have to take a painkiller that day because of the Reiki session.
Because that's healing the blockages and just letting the energy flow through?
Yeah.
It really is as easy as that, isn't it?
Pretty much.
It's wild how many stresses we hold in our bodies and don't let go of and don't even know that we're doing it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's part of it that I think is slightly more technical, although it doesn't seem like it, is that we're actually relaxing the body and allowing everything to flow clearer and for everything to move around the way it should.
You also help clients with chakra balancing. Speaking of blockages, what drew you to that, to working with the chakra energies?
Okay, well, I'd like to define what a chakra is for those who don't know what a chakra is.
Yes, please.
A chakra is a psychophysiological area of awareness that some people see as a wheel of energy, and the word chakra actually means wheel. The main chakra theory that most people are familiar with consists of 7 main chakras that run from the base of the spine to the crown of the head.
Okay.
Chakra theory states that chakras are out of balance when the energy is blocked, and that can cause dis-ease and or discontentment.
So it's literal. It's right there for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And so when our chakras are blocked and the energy is not flowing in our wheels, what happens?
It's important to open towards the chakra so that the blockages can be felt and transformed, and so that the body is able to function properly and all the energy is able to flow clearly to support and sustain the entire body. It's like having something in the middle of your pathway, and I mean, if you think of it like a vein in your body, having a vein in your body and having that little bit of cholesterol that's built up, it's not going to flow as clearly as when that cholesterol gets removed.
So how do our chakras get blocked?
Again, it's situational. It depends on person to person, depends on what their body's gone through, what they experience, what they're exposed to, and or it could be genetic or anything. I mean, it could really be anything could cause a blockage. And what I'm doing with balancing the chakra is kind of being the person to help find where this is. And sometimes we don't know. I mean, that's why there's a lot of, even with Western medicine, you don't always know what's going on. And this is just another diagnostic tool to find out what's going on in my body and where am I holding tension, what's keeping me from living more freely and openly.
Yeah, a lot of us are being held back by ourselves. And it makes sense it makes sense to just sit down and figure out why we're doing what we're doing and where we are stifling the energy. But that's really hard to do, isn't it? Kind of, sort of?
Not once you learn how to be aware of it. Once you start practicing and are aware of these things, you become in tune with how that works. And then the more you do it, like any practice, the easier it becomes.
You help clients with performance focus. What is that?
Yes. Performance focus itself is, I use grounding techniques so that the performer has mind-body awareness and they have a radical presence when they're performing. I use specifically a focus-based practice because unlike regular Reiki and other relaxation techniques, a performer doesn't want to completely shut off and shut down when they're going to perform. If a performer is so relaxed, then they're not present, and they can be spaced out, and they can forget their lines, and or possibly that can add stress or strain to, which, you know, for performers, that's already high.
Mm-hmm.
So having that focus helps to keep it from being so that you're not so relaxed that if you're too relaxed when you're performing, it's like taking a Xanax and operating machinery.
No good. No bueno.
No. you want to be centered and you want to be present in the moment so that you can react. My process of performance focus is harnessing and honing in the body's senses and resources in a synergetic way so that the performer is alert and mindful and responsive in the moment. Because you also don't want to be so rote that you can't respond when, particularly like if you're acting and you're having lines come at you, you want to be responding to them, not just saying your line, them saying their line, and then it's not natural.
I'm a horrible auditioner because I was never good at that under huge stresses, you know, like just being present. But I think the beauty of performance focus is that folks who are not involved in entertainment, they're not up there on stage, they can also benefit from the awareness of being present.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what people tend to see when they see people like Meryl Streep and Kate Blanchett and Morgan Freeman and Hugh Jackman. These are all people who use that kind of technique. And that's why when you say someone seems really grounded, that's all that is that they're really present in the moment. And they're flexible and they're able to present themselves in the most natural way.
You also help people with quantum pranic healing. What is that? I've never heard of it.
Quantum pranic healing is actually an amplified version of Reiki that helps the client to learn how to self-heal. It's just an added-on layer to the process of that normally goes on in a session.
So what is it about?
It's pretty much teaching the client how to be aware of their own energy and how that energy works within themselves so that they can balance it out.
Is it about breath? Is it about posture? Is it about, like, what is the tenet of that?
It's largely breath and visualization. There can be some other things. It really depends on the client and the client's own needs of how it specifically works. Everything with Reiki is individualized to a client, so it always depends on the specific client on how things end up being executed.
I know a lot of us are not getting enough oxygen. Like, we're holding patterns in our bodies where we're not allowing the breath to come in.
Yes.
Yeah. Is quantum pranic healing kind of just about letting that breath out or in, or?
Prana means breath, and so it's all based around the breath. And first, if you focus on the breath and the breathing in and out, if you just do that first, then you start to become aware of all the other things around you. And you're able to take in, well, why does this right side of my body feel tingly? Or why does my nose twitch for some reason?
Right. Well, yeah, a lot of us have quirks, yeah, that means something different. You know, like I have maybe an area I always scratch, or I start.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not about really the itch. It's about other stuff, yeah? We're all holding on to past.
Once you're aware of that stuff, then you can direct the energy in your body to go to that area where you're having a problem and say, okay, this is what we need to focus on, and this is what we need to smooth out so that everything's clearer.
So how can someone ground if they're just hanging out at home right now and they're listening to us chat and they're like, what is grounding? What does it do for me?
It's that being aware of your body, both physically and mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, being connected with where you are. One of the catchphrases that's going around nowadays, with good reason, mindfulness. It's all about mindfulness, which is being aware of where you are in the present moment. So not thinking about the plans you have long ways down the road, not thinking about what happened to you, even if it was just a couple of minutes ago, that guy giving you the grumpy look down the street. But being in the moment, recognizing what your body is doing, listening to your breath, breathing in and breathing out.
It sounds so simple, but it's harder than we realize, just breathing in and breathing out.
It is when you start. Once you start practicing it, it becomes easy. And it's one of the things that I never could have imagined. I used to be the person who always had to remind myself, breathe, breathe. Particularly, I used to suffer from panic attacks. When I was backstage, I would always be anxious, and even more since I was sensitive, I would be picking up on other people's anxiety as well. So I would be freaking out. Now I'm the calm one. And
That's
I find
awesome.
that very humorous because I'm like, what? Everyone else is freaking out around me, and I'm the one who is calm and being like, okay, we're just getting ready to go on. You just need to breathe. Just be here right now. Don't worry about forgetting your lines. Don't worry about what happened before. Just be here.
I had an acting coach long ago who said that the times we are worried we won't remember the lines, we should just take a deep breath and exhale. Because then that exhale is the memory comes back because you've released all the tension.
And a lot of times that helps.
But it kind of works in everyday life, isn't it? Because the whole world is a stage and we're just actors playing our parts.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I mean, that's one of those things that a lot of people don't do when they're in conversation. They're so busy thinking about what they're going to say next that they're not really listening and responding to the person as they're talking.
You know, I think that's the best thing about New York City is that people are more present than in other large cities in America. I don't know if it's the struggle of the city. I don't know what it is, but New Yorkers seem to be very present.
I think you have to be because otherwise, unlike other places, you literally will get smacked upside the head if you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. One of the nice things, because I used to live in suburbs, so I was used to driving and everything, but walking around the city here, particularly if you're in Times Square or something, if you're not paying attention, then there are people coming at you in all directions, and you're going to get bumped and you're going to get hurt. If someone isn't paying attention, we're just going to have big collisions.
But that's kind of our whole lives, isn't it? If we're not paying attention, we're going to have collisions.
Absolutely. And that's what a lot of us get stuck in. That's what those blockages are, is we weren't paying attention to what was going on, and whoops, there's something that's wrong. I don't know what's wrong, but something feels wrong. Then things like Reiki and meditation and yoga, they help to get you to stop and say, okay, there was something wrong. Where is that? Let me look.
Mm-hmm. And people should give you a call if they're in the New York area, especially. You're at beccawell.com. So what should somebody listen and think about holistic healing? I mean, a lot of my listeners probably think this is all just hooey.
Well, holistic healing is really about owning your own health and taking responsibility for your living. So it's really about taking care of yourself. You're creating a base of existence for yourself with self-love, self-nurturing, and self-support. And once you have that, then you can go from there. It doesn't matter what situation you're in or who you are or what you've gone through. It's really about getting to a place of, I'm going to treat myself with self-love, self-nurturing, and self-support.
Thanks, y'all, for listening. Please come back to next WOMENACE Wednesday. You can find me on my website, lisalandry.com, and if you sign up for my newsletter, you will receive a free audio download. Shout out, Ari. I love you, little boo-boo.